So the usual suspects are framing this as a war of aggression. They claim Israel's attack on the Islamic regime in Iran is unprovoked. I could call them disingenuous or fundamentally dishonest. Indeed, they're both. But here I want to be blunt. These desperate Israel haters are talking shite. This isn't unprovoked. This isn't a war of aggression. This is a rational last resort response to a genocidal threat and an ongoing war. The Islamic regime in Iran have been waging a proxy war against Israel for years. Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza and the West Bank, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, the militias in Syria and Iraq, and of course the Islamic regime itself. Together, they make up what the regime likes to call its axis of resistance that surrounds the Jewish state, or at least did. They are all armed, funded and trained by the Iranian Republican Guard, or IRGC. Every terror attack, every missile barrage, every attempt to murder Israelis and Jews around the world is at the behest of the radical Islamic regime in Iran. But now, it ends. Hamas's genocidal slaughter on October 7th, as horrifying, painful and devastating as it was to Israel, was the beginning of the end. No, not for Israel, not for the Jews, but for the so-called Axis. October 7th set off a chain reaction that led to the defeat and destruction of its proxies. The Islamic regime overreached. Today it stands alone and vulnerable as the world looks on. And now, for the reckoning. The Islamic regime, which is sworn to destroy Israel, cannot be allowed to have nukes. It can no longer be allowed to sow chaos and violence across the region. It should no longer be allowed to wage war on its own people. Of course, Israel's first responsibility is to provide safety and security for its own citizens. And after a major failure to do so on October 7th, it's finally decided that never again must mean just that. It therefore decides that it must defang the head of the snake and deal with the threat posed by the Islamic regime in Iran once and for all. What happens after that in Iran is up to the Iranian people. But make no mistake, and don't allow the enablers, the bad actors, the shite talkers to convince you otherwise. These charlatans in the West are driven only by their own irrational hatred of the Jewish state. There is no war of aggression. This is an immensely courageous and ultimate act of self-defense. It's not over yet, but when it is, and when it's successful, yet once more Israel will have done the world a great service. Or as German Chancellor Merz stated, Israel is doing the dirty work for all of us. Now Israel is primarily doing the dirty work for its own security, for its people, all its people, Jews, Muslims, Christians, Druze, Circassians and all. Ultimately it will also benefit the region and the wider world. And you're welcome.